Engineer Gold Mines is focused on the exploration and development of the historic high-grade Engineer Gold Mine situated 32 kilometers southwest of Atlan, British Columbia. Engineer Gold Mines is fully permitted for surface and underground exploration with the drill program now underway. Engineer Gold Mines Limited trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol EAU. For more information, please visit us at engineergoldmines.com.
You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Sean Brodrick, senior editor at WeissRatings.com. Welcome back to the show, Sean.
Thanks for having me on.
Sean, how's Lithium doing with this drive to get people into electrically powered vehicles?
Well, Lithium's doing pretty well already. I mean, the second quarter alone saw lithium prices increase 20 to 40% year over year, depending on the kind of lithium you're talking about. So, lithium was already in an uptrend, and it's actually been outperforming pretty much since the first quarter. So lithium was already having a good time, and now the announcement by President Biden is, more wind in its sails. That said, he says he wants something. That doesn't mean it happens. The car manufacturers already say that the U.S. government will have to invest more money in lithium and EVs in order to get this to happen. But I think the U.S. government was going to do that anyway. We get sick of buying the stuff from other places in the world, and we do have lithium deposits. In fact, I had an article a couple weeks ago, actually, about the not in my backyard effect and how that's kind of squeezing future demand. We're having projects all over North America challenged in the courts. Now, we recently saw something work out for Lithium Americas in Nevada because they have the Thacker Pass project there, and environmentalists came out and challenged it because it reportedly, according to the environmentalists, impinged on an area where sage grouse live. However, the judge said, no, it's only a tiny little area, it'll be okay. So that's one that turned out positively. But there are other ones in, say, Quebec and North Carolina where there's a lot of community opposition, or there have just been some missteps by the lithium companies. So that's going to squeeze supply that's already pretty tight. According to Macquarie, which is an investment bank that actually follows this industry, we are going to see a production deficit this year of 2,900 metric tons, which isn't a lot. But next year, that's going to rise to 20,200 metric tons. And then in 2023, it's going to surge to 61,000 metric tons. So from 2,900, 20,200, 61,000. You can see the way that's going is quite bullish for any lithium you can get out of the ground. So, we'll just have to see how that goes. EV sales are soaring too. So, of course, that's feeding into it, but it's more than EVs. I mean, they want lithium for all sorts of things, battery storage for all the green energy and stuff like that. So it's a very bullish environment and a massive megatrend.
What about other battery-related metals, cobalt, nickel?
Well, again, if you look at my column from 2 weeks ago on wealth-wave.com, I had a story, NIMBY accelerates the coming lithium supply-demand squeeze. But to illustrate that, I showed a chart of the demand for all sorts of metals through 2030 that are related to batteries. And yeah, I mean, lithium demand is supposed to increase 11-fold, but natural graphite, that's supposed to increase 7-fold. The demand for cobalt is supposed to go up about 3 times. Rare earths, supposed to more than double. Nickel, which you need that for batteries, that's supposed to more than double. Copper is supposed to boom. So really demand for all kinds of metals related to this industry, related to this megatrend, are, I mean, the future's very bright.
What about traditional things like gold and silver?
They've hit the snooze button. I mean, keep hearing people say that they're going to break out, but looking at the charts, I mean, I'd like them to break out, but really they've been drifting ever since we saw that plunge in June. So they're kind of drifting higher than lower and stuff like that. I mean, yesterday everyone was saying, oh my God, silver's looking like it's ready to break out. Then it reversed by the end of the day and it was, down in this range again. Many people feel there's some kind of conspiracy against gold and silver. That's not it. What it is are other things are more shiny to investors. That is, they see the potential for bigger returns in other things. I believe silver and gold will have a day. It's just not right now, apparently.
The bigger returns then in those battery metals we were talking about?
That seems to be the case. I mean, those have massive upturns. And that's funny, despite the fact that, like, if you put lithium price into the search bar on your computer, you're going to get 3 different answers. There's no agreed on thing. I mean, there's different kinds of lithium, there's different markets where it's sold, but eventually I expect that will become more standardized too. So, maybe we'll have a lithium metals index we can actually track. Right now we do have a lithium miners index we can track. Symbol is LIT. My subscribers own it already. You can choose to own it or not. That's not a recommendation. I'm just saying there are ways to invest in this industry, and you can even do it with ETFs.
I've seen articles predicting that a lot of small gold companies are going to be snapped up in the near future by the big boys. Do you see that happening?
I see that happening with the small lithium companies. I mean, there's such a supply-demand squeeze on there. It's amazing. Now, gold companies, it could work too. In fact, I was just at a project in Alaska that has the potential for that kind of thing. It's high grade. It's in the Aleutian Islands. And like you're thinking, well, it's in the Aleutian Islands. It's so remote, no one will ever build a gold mine there. Actually, they previously built a gold mine there. That was Alaska's first underground gold mine. It has great access by water and air, and it's the perfect place to find high-grade gold because it's a volcanic island. The island's called Unga, and it's near an island called Sand Point, which I was staying at when I wasn't on Unga. Now it's very early stage. They're an exploration company. But, projects like that have the potential. But they have to be big. That's what Star is racing to do right now, to prove they have a whole new gold district. If they're right, then I'm sure people will come calling for it. Because it is high grade and that just doesn't fall into your lap all the time. And God knows, plenty of these gold and silver miners have plenty of money. I don't know if you saw the earnings report out of SSR Mining. I mean, they're just ringing the cash register. Things look great for plenty of these companies, and they're doing very well. It's just not reflected in the stock price right now.
We'll have more with Sean Brodrick right after this.
Media recognition from Bloomberg, Reuters, recycling trade publications, patented process for 100% recovery of critical metals, including cobalt, lithium, nickel, manganese, aluminum. American Manganese is focused on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. American Manganese trades on the TSX Venture, AMY, the US, AMYZF, and Frankfurt 2AM. For more information, visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
Don't miss out. Stay informed. Receive the HowStreet.com weekly recap with thought-provoking podcasts, radio, and articles delivered to your inbox. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage at HowStreet.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Sean Brodrick. Sean, what's going on in the marijuana market?
Well, it's just been a terrible quarter. Seasonally, marijuana should start to rally in July. That didn't happen. Then again, maybe it just got delayed to August. I mean, I'm seeing some tremendous moves in certain names. So, all we need is some follow-through. We need some downtrends broken, then they'll be off to the races again. There is value here, and many people say that the market is overvalued. If you're looking for marijuana, look in especially U.S. cannabis growers, though I know you have a large Canadian audience. There are good Canadian cannabis companies, too. I know because I own some of them. You know, I mean, I'd stay away from some of the big names that seem to pile money up and then set it on fire. But there are other great names in that space, and they've been beaten down flat. So if people are looking for bargains, we could definitely see a lot of money rotate in there.
Any life in uranium?
Yes and no. I mean, boy, talk about the tantalizing metal. I mean, it should be doing so much better with everything we hear, and yet we find Cameco, for example, trading around the same levels that it has since March. You know, I mean, it's so annoying. Things that could adjust this is if we see Kazakhstan shut down its mines again, thanks to COVID, which they might. If we see other big mines around the world shut down again. I mean, we aren't through the pandemic. That's what many people realize. What was one thing that happened in the pandemic? Mines shut down because too many people got sick. They had to do something about it. That can still happen again. There are new variants coming out all the time. I just reposted a terrifying story on my Twitter feed of in the New York City sewers, they're finding really weird COVID variants. And they're figuring out it's coming from the rats, because the rats can catch COVID just like we can. And every single living organism is a factory for germs, right? So the rats, many millions of rats, are like cooking up their own version of COVID. If that ever comes back to bite us, that is going to be bad. So there are things in place this year that could imitate what happened last year. I'm not saying it's going to be a complete repeat. For one thing, I don't expect widespread shutdowns. That really didn't help. But we could see mask policies and stuff like that. One thing we certainly could see is if there's an outbreak at mines, they will have to shut down. And that brings us back to uranium. One of the ones where we saw the biggest shutdowns was in uranium because it's so concentrated. So if some of those big mines shut down, that'll probably light a fire under the price of uranium. Longer term, I mean, we see all this bullish news coming out for uranium. I would expect it to go higher. But as I said, Cameco is in the same trading range that it started back in March. Other stocks, pretty much same thing. Heck, I'm looking at one that's been in the same trading range it's been in all year. You know, when the S&P 500 is flying higher, it's hard to get much interest in an industry that isn't performing somewhat close to that. So this is why you're seeing people invest in lithium and rare earths rather than uranium right now.
What's going on in the energy market?
Oh, well, you know, I mean, we see zigs and zags, and I hope that energy pulls itself out of the slump it's in right now. The slump it's in is basically a COVID slump. I mean, I hate to come back to that again, but that's exactly what we saw. Once we saw COVID fears start to rise in the market, we saw the price of oil start to go down. It has found some support, absolutely, and many of these companies have started to find support, and they needed to cool off a little bit anyway. But until the market gets over its case of the worries, then we are going to probably see the oil complex struggle. Now, just to talk about COVID for one more thing, I think the fear is the worst part about it right now. Many people are vaccinated. We aren't going to have a repeat of last year. But if the market worries enough, things can happen. You know, it can trigger responses that might bewilder you if you're looking at the scientific evidence. So we could see major sell-offs simply because people are worried about COVID. And so we'll have to see how that plays out. Right now, oil looks a bit iffy. It could go lower. I mean, it found some support this week. I'd like that support to hold. But, you know, if more COVID fears ramp up, then who knows what will happen with oil. But longer term. I mean, we saw a whole bunch of the shale plays in the U.S. shut down. They're way behind on drilling. So, all in all, I mean, I think things look pretty bullish for oil. It just needs to get over the COVID fear it has.
Sean, anything else we should be keeping an eye on right now?
No, that's pretty much it. This is August. Everyone's on vacation. Your listeners should be on vacation. They shouldn't be trading stocks. Nonetheless, I'm stuck here doing it. Maybe they are too. It's okay. There's still plenty of bargains out there, but there is a risk of the market going lower. So people have to be prepared for that too. Is there anything in your portfolio that maybe you shouldn't be owning if we have a 10% correction? Because the nice thing about a 10% correction, right, is, and we're way overdue for one, is that you can then scoop up bargains. But you have to have cash on hand in order to scoop up bargains, right? So if there's something you have in your portfolio that maybe isn't working out, and you think you might want some cash on hand in case some bargain hunting comes along, maybe do some switches and swaps. That's all I'm saying. Have some cash. We should get a pullback sometime or another. We haven't had a really serious one in quite a while, and we're overdue. So, you know, I would say people should enjoy August, not worry too much about the market. But since this is a quiet time, maybe it's a good time to look at your portfolio and see what you really want to own.
Sean, thank you so much for chatting with us.
It's always a pleasure.
My guest has been Sean Brodrick, senior editor at WeissRatings.com. If you have any questions for Sean, you can send them to our show at info@HoweStreet.com, our YouTube channel, Talk Digital Network. Find us on Twitter at Howe Street. We're also on Facebook. I'm Jim Goddard. Thank you for listening.
Comments made on HoweStreet.com radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. HoweStreet.com radio is a production of Howe Street Media Incorporated.